Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us episode 145 for June 24th, 2015. My name is Russell Frost, and I am the solo host this week. Danny Cooper's taking the week off. I think he's golfing in Dubai or something. I'm not really sure.
Is he getting the sex change back?
I didn't think we were going to talk about that, Tony. I mean,
he asked us not to, but he should be proud. He's so brave.
We're proud of him. We're proud of him, you know. So, the guy who just talked, he's one of our exciting panelists this evening. His name is Tony Schaefer.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be back. Wow, I am rusty, really. But I had a great time in Portland, as everyone knows from last week. Patrick mentioned, and I posted pictures on the Facebook page of the scooters. And while I was there, I grabbed one of these magazines. It was free. It's called Green Living, and I need something to read, and it was free. Right, I mentioned that part. So what was really neat is I was looking through it, and there was this picture here of electric vehicles, and then if you notice the credit, I can't even see that.
I don't think getting it closer is helping.
It's not? Okay. But it says photo, where's my finger? There it is. Okay. Photo by Patrick Connor.
Oh!
So that was pretty cool. So
he's a celebrity.
And the problem is I grabbed that after having dinner with him, so I didn't even get to congratulate him or say, hey, that was pretty cool. So this is me giving a shout out to Pat, who's not on the show.
And remind me next week to kick his ass for infringing on my territory.
Okay, and I want to hand it over to Paul.
Man in Boulder, Colorado. His name is still Mr. Paul.
Hey everybody, it's good to be back. It's been a couple weeks, I guess, but looking forward to this small group tonight to talk about hybrids and EV stuff.
There'll be no talking over each other this week, will there? I'm just going to be quiet. You guys are going to talk, and I'm going to nod.
Right. We're courteous to each other.
We're 5 minutes in and I'm dead meat. So, hey, let's start off with a couple of 2-minute news topics, and I think leading off, just because he's so excited about the Blackhawks, he forgot to mention what he was drinking. Let's start with Tony.
Okay. Well, first, my 2-minute topics is how awesome the Chicago Blackhawks are. All right, I'm just kidding. So, from the Washington Post, I have a quick article that it is a very quick article. There's really not much meat to it, but it said how Tesla came out and said, Elon Musk has said that the Model X, the newer SUV Tesla, is actually aimed at the female market specifically. And they say that the female market is an underserved market, which, I suppose that would be right, because when you think of, engineers, cars, you think men designing things, SUVs, big trucks, very manly, whatever. But Tesla actually had focus groups exclusively of women, asking them what they thought about this feature, that feature. And they are directly rolling that into the Model X. They really want to hit the female demographic and make a car that makes women comfortable in the car. And one of the things that was interesting is that in the article it had said that 86% of the Model S registrations have been from men, whereas the Model X has, and I can't find it.
Nobody will call you on it.
Oh, right. Over 115% of the pre-registrations for the Model X have been from women.
Can I assume the article was a significantly higher percentage of women for the Model X and the Model Y?
It was higher than you would expect. That women specifically are pre-ordering the Model X.
Interesting.
That's cool. I mean, I've seen quite a few women driving Model S's in Boulder and in the Colorado area, so it's cool that they realize that there's women who like to spend money on cars too.
Yeah, in fact, I saw a Model S in Lancaster today, driven by.
Behind the Amish wagon.
It was actually pulling a buggy.
Yeah.
There's no exhaust, so they don't mind it when they pull.
Right.
Interestingly, just one last thing about this article. It does say that the crossover, is huge with space for 7 passengers, 3 rows, and an expansive trunk space. And this in an article talking about how it's aimed at the female demographic. It ends the paragraph with expected to go 0 to 60 in less than 5 seconds.
So are you saying there's some sort of sexist stereotype that women don't like fast cars?
I just yes, yes, I am.
There's going to be lots of 3-year-olds with snapped neck vertebrae.
Well, there's that. I was going to say all the women I know like to drive their cars fast. Yeah. Not saying that all women do. I just, I know more than a few feminine gearheads who would be very excited about snapping the neck of their 3-year-old. I mean, driving really fast.
Right.
Probably not snapping them of babies. That's probably not a feature Elon. Well, who knows? Maybe Elon's really evil. This is how he's going to kill a generation. Okay, enough of that silliness. Yes. Mr. Guzik, I bet you have something to talk about.
Yeah, something that came across the wire today that I'm actually excited about is Chevy is doing sort of test runs of the Bolt with the B. Still a stupid name, but it's a real affordable 200-mile EV. And every week I talk to someone who says, "Oh, I'd get a Leaf, but I need more than a 100-mile range." And they all say, if it had 150 to 200, I'd probably consider it. So maybe when this comes out, people buy it. Maybe when it comes out, people say, "Oh, well, if there was one with 300 miles, I'd buy it." But it's one objection off the table. And the Volt with a V has been a surprisingly good car. So maybe GM's getting their act together.
Better than some companies that aren't making any car-sized electric vehicle.
That's right. Yes. Toyota made a little
sized. Yeah.
Yes, Toyota also showed their scooter moped electric thingy majiggy pizza wagon in Texas this week, which was cool. But come on, Toyota, you got lots of talented engineers build a decent EV.
Yeah, I mean and this is Godspeed to Elio. I hope they make a car, and I hope their Kickstarter thing works, and I hope they get off the ground and they sell some cars. But honestly, I'm so tired of these 3-wheeled outrigger motorcycle license ready EVs. Maybe it's just me. Maybe if I was younger, I would be more stimulated by that. But I want a car with 4 wheels and doors and a stereo and
and a survivability rating.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing with this. If a car has 3 wheels, it's classed as a motorcycle, so there's no airbags, no crash test ratings, no safety features. It's basically a motorcycle with a fiberglass cage to bash into your head when you wipe out.
Well, a fiberglass envelope to wrap around you and protect your corpse.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. And the only security that the little 3-wheel Toyota thing offers is that anyone who sees that going down the road is going to stay as far away from it as possible.
I mean, they're cute. I just, I'm tired of that. And the evil side, right, of me says, "Oh, Toyota's doing this on purpose to give people the impression that this is what EVs are supposed to be."
Yeah, maybe.
You want people to think this is what EVs are.
Yeah, but back in the early 2000s, they had the RAV4 EV, which was at the time so far ahead of everything else. And if they put that much energy into building something today, it would kick ass.
I mean, I don't think there's any question that Toyota couldn't build a good electric vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that they could. I just don't think I think they lack the will. So much for that speculation.
Yeah. Yep. But the Bolt might become a popular car.
I'm excited. I mean, I'm sorry, Tony.
I think it's kind of it's cute in its own way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's got a quick charge, so you can actually use it for regional trips.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you want to drive from Portland to Seattle, you could stop along the way. If it's about 150 miles, but if you're running low, you could top it up at a quick charge station.
It's 150 miles from Portland, Maine to Seattle, Washington?
Yes.
Yeah.
A much
if you go
smaller country than I remember.
By magic carpet.
the other Portland,
Yeah.
the one where they have brew pubs.
The one you love so much now.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into some other news for this week. I got sucked in by a Consumer Reports video review talking about Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. They actually slapped up an aftermarket Pioneer head unit into a Jetta and installed, because this Pioneer unit allows CarPlay and Android Auto, and used it in the car just to get a feel for like what it would be like, how these things work. And it's going to come as no big surprise to you that they liked both systems much better than any of the car manufacturer infotainment systems currently in the market. Did you guys watch the video?
I have not seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. And yeah, they had been using it for a month, they had said. So that's adequate time to get a good feel for it. And I mean, they name a lot of really positives about having Apple Play or Google or Android Car, whatever it's called, Android Auto,
Apple CarPlay.
CarPlay, whatever. Third party. And I mean, of course, one of the things they point out is something that I suffer with, not on a daily basis, but occasionally. I have a car with a 2004 navigation system. Now, the 2004 navigation DVDs were probably actually printed in about 1873 for the accuracy of some of the roads and highways. I mean, it was probably a couple years old when I got it, and now it's 10, 12, years old. And there are times where it says I'm driving through fields, and it routes me on roads that I know are no longer in service. Things like that. And of course...
But can you even see the roads with that high-resolution display on the 04?
It looked like Super
like 1978 DOS.
Well, what I do is, to prepare for using the navigation system, I play a whole lot of Bitland. and then the navigation system looks high-res by comparison. Yes.
Oh God, that's so horrible. I mean,
but of course, having a navigation system tied into your phone means that you're using Apple Maps or you're using Google Maps, and we know that they get updates on a regular basis. We know that you can,
or you can use some real-time thing like Waze. That gives you valuable data when you're driving.
That was actually one thing that the guy had said, that you can't get Waze, at least not yet. He had said this was like beta version 2.
Why would they not have Waze in a car application?
You would think, right? And yeah, that was one of the things they both mentioned, was that that Waze wasn't available yet. Now, there is decent live traffic data in Apple Maps and
Google,
But they made the point that we've made over and over again, which is, wow, my phone navigation maps get updated all the time. They're super current. They look really nice. It's a pleasant user experience looking at navigating through things. And I don't know anybody that's ever said that about Resident Nav.
Well, and plus everybody already has the phone in their pocket, whereas the factory nav is a $1,500 option, which is a joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, $1,500 or more.
Yeah, depending on the car.
Yeah, and depending on what they make you buy along with it. It's frequently $2,000 or $3,000 because you've got to buy it as part of another technology package.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things they did mention was that they mentioned it during the Apple one, and I'm not sure about the Android, but it uses pretty much the Apple environment. So everything is app-based. So one of the things they had said was, if you're in navigation but you then want to use a different app, you have to back out of navigation, get to the home screen, and open the next app. which could seem distracting, even as distracting as doing it on your phone. You know, that was just one thing that they had mentioned.
They could do like a Tesla. You just split the screen, you know, nav on top and Google underneath or whatever.
I mean, you know, obviously both Google and Apple have the ability to update these things very easily.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a matter of sending out 5,000 flash drives to car owners. It's a matter of, you know, an over-the-air update and saying, okay, now you can do this, now you can do that, okay, now you can use Waze. That's the really the huge potential of this that the car companies just completely fail to address over and over again.
Yep.
I think they failed to see what was coming, which, you know, now they may see that, oh my gosh, these other options are better than anything that we have available. And I think it was short-sightedness on their parts that they didn't see people using their phones every day.
I think that was
figuring out, hey, they could use their phone in our car, and
Right.
you know, hey, there's TomTom. Why are we still selling nav?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Paul. Go ahead. Did you have something to say on that?
No, I just not a fan of factory nav. I think it's a joke. They should just give a docking station for your phone or your tablet, or put in a screen that mirrors your phone, and that's it. That's all we want.
I totally agree. I don't know that it was a lack of vision, Tony. I think it was more likely a stubborn vision that they said we're going to do what we want to do because we want that money.
I guess.
You know.
I remember when I first saw Entune and it was being demoed by a Toyota, you know, an actual Toyota Entune developer, and he brought up stocks and he said, look, you can check your stocks. and I said, and I asked him, and I was quite serious. I said, why would I check my stocks in my car? And he made some bogus, you know, well, you know, maybe you were out of town, and you know, or you know, you're at the airport and you want to check your stocks real quick, and I literally said, here's where I check my stocks. End of conversation. I mean, he had nothing, and I was like, how many hours did somebody spend coding that app? It's not going to get used.
All right.
Open Table, Fandango, you know, all of the stuff that they put in there works better on the phone. It's quicker on the phone.
Updates.
And they're updated, yeah. And that's really the dead end here, is that these car companies refuse to update, or they can't update the software. So, like, I mean, you're a perfect example. You're a loyal Toyota customer. You love your car, but you're driving around, you know, would you have a phone that's 12 years old?
Yeah, and if Tony wanted to get the updated DVD nav, first of all, it's on a DVD, which was probably made 2 years ago from 2-year-old data. It's like $250 for the DVD, and you can go buy a TomTom for $99. That will kick its ass as far as that.
Right.
Or a Garmin with lifetime updates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for the same price.
Yeah, I really do think that car companies who are trying to create this infotainment system, that, you know, try to rival everything that you just get natively in your phone, or you can download. I mean, it reminds me of the rant I had so many years ago about music in cars. And at one point I counted like 7 or 8 different ways you can listen to music in your car. I mean, if you break it out, it was AM, FM, there's satellite. I still have a tape player in my car, believe it or not. It's a 2004, I know. There's CD. You can.
I had a car with an 8-track once.
Okay, well, okay, but yeah. Some of them you can stick a thumb drive and play off a thumb drive. My wife's Fusion Hybrid has an internal hard drive that you can actually burn into the jukebox. That, by the way, I spent like 4 hours burning maybe 5 CDs. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah, that system wasn't. I mean, it seemed like a good idea on paper, but it really didn't work.
Oh, I bailed on that. But I mean, it was kind of the same thing. It was like there was all of these options, And what it comes down to is she listens to the local DJs in the morning, and then she listens to satellite radio in the evening. And what do? I get audiobooks from the library.
On tape.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Now I do get
curious,
CDs. I know.
They usually have lots of them on tape.
Tony, you're not
Right.
the typical Prius user with NPR set to radio preset number 1?
Leave me alone.
Well, actually, we call NPR National Prius Radio because every Prius that comes in the shop has it preset to their FM number 1.
You know what? I do have to give a shout out to our friend Tom Stengel, who says, to be fair, an aftermarket nav with a 7-inch screen is fracking expensive. Not as much as a factory nav, but still pretty steep.
Okay, with a 7-inch screen.
A 7-inch screen, yeah.
You can buy an iPad Mini for $199.
Too many other solutions that are inexpensive, that are under $500. So maybe it has a 3.5, 4, maybe a 5-inch screen. Okay. Yeah. You know, well, you know, speaking of doing one thing or saying one thing and kind of doing another, Green Car Reports published a story this week, in fact today, about Tesla, and apparently there's, I'm hesitant to say there's a growing problem. They've identified some issues that the Supercharger network in some cases is being used a lot by locals who are doing short trips and are stopping by to top off or charge up. Apparently what this is doing is conflicting with people who are using the chargers in some locations for longer trips, and they're running into the locals who are just there all the time charging, so they have to wait because there aren't open chargers. Now, you know, on one hand, wow, first world problems, right? I mean, a bunch of people with $90,000 cars can't get enough chargers. But this is a really good example of deploying something like this, free charging for life.
Mm-hmm.
And how does it shake out? You know, do just the people that Tesla had intended to use it obviously aren't the ones using it, and it's causing a problem. And I want to, before I run this over to you guys, Evan Fusco, of course, our resident Tesla owner, saw the story and had to send me an email. So I'm going to read his 4 points that he wanted to bring up. He also pointed me to a Tesla Club thread on this issue with almost 800 posts in it, and I actually declined to spend the rest of my life reading it. So we're just going to go with this. So here's Evan's comments. His first comment is, while it was never explicitly stated at the original announcement about superchargers being free for life, the clear implication was that they were building them to allow for long-distance travel. There was never any implication that the intent was for local drivers to charge routinely for free. I have to admit I didn't follow things that closely. I would have, you know, so I'll take Evan at his word. Point number 2. Because of number 1, Tesla has not disallowed anyone from charging. There are rumors that they throttled the charge rates for some frequent local users, but that has been discontinued and is really counterintuitive, as the longer a local takes to top up, the longer someone who needs to use the charger will have to wait to get access. Excellent point.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, the community in general is strongly in favor of keeping the intended use of superchargers to be for long-distance travel. We all pay a premium on our cars, and that pays for the superchargers and the electricity. If the abuse, in quotes, of the superchargers by locals becomes more widespread, it'll force Tesla to do something more drastic, either remove the free life option from future rollouts, parenthetically, no indication that they would consider that for current owners, or begin raising the price of the cars enough to accommodate for the increased expense of local charging, neither of which are desirable to anyone. And finally, his 4th point, in general, the feeling of the community is that there should be pressure from the community and polite communication from Tesla to consider the big picture. And for those who have the option of charging at home or at other free chargers, that they should do so for their routine daily driving to allow the continued low-cost use of superchargers by the rest of the community for the intended purpose of free long-distance travel for life. Perhaps that's a bit too Pollyanna to think it would be possible as Tesla grows, but we'd like to think we're different, and as a group, showing the world can be a better place in many ways.
It would have been better if you had done it in Evan's voice.
The feeling of community. Oh, sorry.
Wow.
That's not Evans.
I know.
So the only
I do think it would be funny though if somebody plugged in, somebody plugs into a supercharger, and they live only a few miles away, and their car's only half discharged or something, that the screen comes up and just says, "Seriously, dude?"
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's really all you got to do. Just pop up and say, "Really? Seriously?" I mean, I get it.
And that's the thing. This problem, if it is a real problem, they'll just come up with rules. You can charge once a month if within your home region, and the rest of the time you got to pay or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do not at all feel bad for someone who takes free for life and just says, "I'm going to charge for free at a supercharger because I spent all my money buying a $90,000 car, and now I'm too cheap to charge on my own dime."
Oh, I don't even know that it's too cheap. I mean, I think that's probably part of it, but I think a lot of it just it's there so people are using it. I mean, here's the thing that I
Well, and on the other side, the fact that people have these cars and are charging them, when people drive by and see the charging stations in use, that's a good thing, because so many charging stations I drive by, there's no cars there, and then everybody's saying, "Well, where are these electric cars people are talking about?" So maybe it's good that there's cars always parked in front being charged.
I mean, I get. Here's where I'm going to take one point specifically with one of the things that Evan said in his fourth point. He was kind of talking about the big picture and intended use and all of that. Well, here's the problem. That totally to me sounded like Prius owners in like 2004, when it was a small community, somewhat homogeneous, of like-minded individuals. Tesla is not going to be that for very much longer. When the Model 3 hits, that's over. So this whole sort of, here we are, this small community of owners of a very expensive electric vehicle. That demographic's changing, is going to change, and people are going to do what's convenient for them. If it's convenient for them to charge at a free supercharger, they're probably going to do that. So it'll be interesting to see how Tesla manages this issue. Yeah, like you say, Paul, maybe they just allow them to use it once a month if it's within their home range. I don't know. Yep. Any ideas on how they manage it?
Well, we know that Tesla knows who you are and where you are.
Yeah.
I mean, they've
and how
already
often you charge and where you charge.
Oh yeah,
They know everything.
They know everything, and anyone who's shocked by that clearly was not paying attention to the article where the guy intentionally drained the battery and tried bashing Tesla about it, and then they said, "Oh, here's all your data."
Right.
So yeah, they know and track all that stuff. So they could certainly do whatever they want to do.
Arguably, that could be said about some other vehicles as well.
Yeah.
They may have to download data from a black box rather than get it over the air, but arguably there are other cars with data collection.
Oh yeah, we know that. I'm just saying, we know that Tesla knows in real time.
Right.
I mean, the guy that plugged into the internet port of his Tesla and got the message on the screen from someone at Tesla that said,
from Elon.
Yeah, it said, "Hey, stop what you're doing. You'll void your warranty." I mean, as he was doing it. So yeah, in real time, they know what you're doing with your car. So that gets into Evan's point when he said locals were having their charge throttled back. And he didn't say that rumor was discredited. He said that has been discontinued. So they were doing it. So clearly when you plugged in, they knew who you were plugging in. So I don't know what ramifications they could do. I don't know if they could just refuse the charge based on something.
Right. Well, I mean, it just makes it more complicated. Obviously, when you say it's free for life for anybody, that's easy. As soon as you start saying, well, it's free for life for anybody if you don't live in your local zone and you haven't used it more than once a month, then it starts to get really difficult to manage. And
yeah,
as Tesla gets to be more successful, this is going to be more and more of a problem. Because that whole community thing is going to start to evaporate.
Well, it's like, I shouldn't say it's like, I should ask, is it like when in 2001 to 2006 maybe, when, Prius owners waved to each other?
Very much so.
And it was that sense of, oh my God, there's another Prius owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've lost it now that it's gone, quote unquote mainstream. And I think what you're saying is right with the Model 3 and then the Model X and then the Model whatever comes after. You're going to get people who are not the same philanthropic, altruistic EV owners. Let's do what's right. It's going to be, hey, Supercharger, topping up.
Well, especially if their sales projections are like to have 10x sales, as the Model 3 comes out and all that. So now you're going to have all these new Teslas, and are they going to build that many more stations, for charging? So yeah, it could get ugly.
It could, and maybe there's another solution that's going to pop up. I don't know. I honestly can't. I thought about it this afternoon, and I didn't come up with here's how to manage it. But I think Evan's point that it might be a little Pollyannic. He admitted it himself, to think that the community is going to be self-regulating, because it might be now, sort of. But as small and insular as it is now, if it's not self-regulating, it's only going to get much, much worse in the next 3 years.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So speaking of changing in the next couple of years, another Green Car Report story this week talked about the Tesla Gigafactory, which everyone loves to talk about because it's fun to say, fun to look at.
Gigafactory.
Tesla gets lots of...
It sounds like a place where Homer Simpson would work. I work at the Gigafactory.
Great if Homer worked there. That would be awesome. Well, but now we're not talking about Tesla, and we're not talking about Gigafactory. We're talking about the Toyota Fuel Cell Mega Factory. This is a project that Toyota is saying they're going to do, and I say that because it's not built yet. I don't think they've even broken ground for it. But what this Mega Factory is going to do is dramatically increase the amount of proton exchange
membrane fuel cells, PEMFCs, because that's easy to remember.
And this is, I guess, the catalyst. Is that correct, Paul? Do you know if that's...
Yeah, it's like a chemical reaction thing.
Okay. I thought it was platinum, but I guess maybe it is. It doesn't say that it's not, actually.
There's a bit of platinum or palladium. One of those P things that's expensive.
Plutonium.
Not plutonium.
So suffice to say, Toyota is saying that they're going to build something very similar in scale, or in scale of power output, to what the products produced will put out with their fuel cell mega factory.
Is it also in Reno?
It doesn't say. It doesn't say. I'm. The problem that I have with this is...
Maybe they could sell fuel cells to Hyundai so they could sell more than 216 cars.
Yeah, I don't think Toyota's sold that much either.
Yeah.
The problem with this is it's all vaporware. It's all talk. They haven't broken ground anywhere. They haven't even bought land, as far as we know. They're not talking about when this is exactly going to happen. It's sort of like, we kind of expect it to start happening in 2016 and 2017, but where's the factory? They're still building Mirais by hand. So how they're going to build up production, ramp up production to sell 3,000 per year.
You're going to need a lot of hands.
I have no idea. I mean, I feel like this was a press release. Is anybody else seeing that?
Well, once again, a shout out to Tom, who we know is listening or watching live.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom. He did point out that these that fuel cells are great for fixed locations.
Sure.
So they did not specify the size of the PEMFCs. So maybe
Toyota doesn't build houses; they make cars.
Right, but Tesla doesn't make batteries you hang on the wall. They build cars.
I'm going to give you like a 50% legitimate on that comment.
Okay. You know what? When he sent the message, I was thinking, okay.
But Tesla does build batteries, or is going to. They've built a factory.
And they've figured out how to build batteries cheaply.
Right. They know what batteries they want, so this Powerwall is sort of a natural extension of that. And I'll grant you that Toyota is charging hard with fuel cell technology. I just don't know where all these fuel cells are going to go. It seems unlikely they're going to go in Mirais. Like Paul said, maybe they're going to go to Hyundai. So Hyundai can double production and sell 500 a year.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, when they build the hydrogen distribution network with a pipe into everybody's house, then you could have a fuel cell in your garage to power your house.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah.
It's, and forgive me my cynicism. I am basically a cynical bastard.
It's true.
This is, for somebody who's been involved in this sort of like alt car, sustainable energy thing for more than a few years. I've heard over and over and over again over the years about hydrogen and fuel cells, and it's going to happen next year. It's just around the corner. Give us 3 more years. Next year it's going to be 18 months we're going to ramp up. I've heard this over and over again. And I'm kind of tired of the talk, and I just want to see them build the goddamn factory.
Yeah, like in 2006, wasn't Arnold, when he was governor of California, building the hydrogen highway?
The hydrogen highway, yeah, the hydrogen super highway, I think it was.
All the way to Alaska.
Yeah, right, because everyone was going to drive their fuel cell cars from California to Alaska.
Yeah.
That's Arnold. He's a little brain-addled. Too many of his own stunts. So there it is. I don't know. Final words, Paul, Tony, on fuel cells?
Great technology, just not practical in our lifetime.
Yeah, Tom did say that. He said something about doing crack on site. I'm not sure what he. Oh no, he was talking about cracking on site.
Oh.
Of course, he said he's not serious about that, but he said he wouldn't be surprised if Toyota tries to float the idea.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Maybe you're right.
But I do think if I get one of these fuel cells, then I could get natural gas, pump it into the fuel cell, into the cell to generate electricity to charge my power wall to then power my house.
Well, I mean, that's basically the bloombox, right? The bloombox is a fuel cell stack made for large applications powered by natural gas. And those apparently have worked very well, and they've seen some good, decent expansion.
But it's still a niche market. It's for, peak shaving utility rates, or
that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Or companies
it's not cost effective to put it behind every office building.
Right. Or companies who want to buy a halo.
Right.
Basically, you're like, hey, look at us. We're only using natural gas, which of course natural gas is harmless.
Right.
It only
That's safe.
It only comes from clean sources.
From unicorn farts.
God help me.
See, that's why I wish I had a microphone.
I just don't know. Finally, speaking of not knowing, a car I've always had kind of a, I don't want to say love-hate, let's just say I like it and I'm very suspicious of it. The Fiat 500e. Fiat has issued its fourth. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Four. Count them, 4. Recalls for this vehicle. They're recalling 3,800 cars, and I've got to think that's not just 300Es, because there's no way they've sold 3,800 500Es.
Yeah, they sold a bunch in California.
Have they?
Yep.
Wow.
They're a fun little car. I mean,
Have you driven it? Because I haven't driven it yet, Paul.
I actually have not driven it firsthand, but there is one about 500 feet from me at the Boulder electric car dealership, so I'm going to go take one out. But apparently everybody who drives it says it's the funnest little electric car.
I think it's cute as a button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I really do.
And in California,
like
they were leasing them for like $110 a month or something, so a lot of people got them.
Thank God I'm in Pennsylvania and I'm not tempted by that. Wait, no, that's horrible. So, and this, Paul, I'm going to lean heavy on you here. On one hand, I'm really glad that that Fiat's in touch with what's going on, and that they're updating their software, that they're doing these recalls, and they're keeping these cars running as good as they can. On the other hand, 4 recalls?
Yeah, but all modern cars need software updates. I mean, not all of them will brick the car or be unsafe, but we're seeing in Colorado this year, you now have to smog older hybrids, so any 8-year-old hybrid has to be smog tested. Well, the 07 Highlander hybrid won't pass the smog test without a software update.
Really?
The car's been out for 8-9 years, won't pass the smog test. And now in California they're starting to smog older hybrids. So all these cars that everybody ignored because they didn't have emissions tests, now they have to be updated in order to pass the test.
Well, right, but it only pollutes a third of the time.
Yeah.
So where are the software updates coming from?
From Toyota.
So Toyota's writing software updates for old Highlander hybrids.
If it's a safety issue or a performance issue, or it's going to cost them money, like we all remember Honda detuning the hybrid performance to save their ass on the hybrid battery warranties.
Oh boy.
So yeah. So you got to realize all modern cars have buckets of software in them, and they're going to need to be updated, just like your PC needs to be updated, your iPhone needs to be updated.
See, I get it, but this isn't a software update. This is trouble code that could cause the transmission to shift into neutral.
Right, and that's a safety issue.
Right. But I understand that you can update the software, and they come out with software updates, but that's a bug. That's just glaring defect.
Well, we saw a Gen 2 Prius defect recently that I've never seen. There's a relay for the transmission on the Prius when you push the park button on the dash that energizes the transmission to put it into park. If that relay is defective, you press the park button on the dash, the light says it's in park, you get out of your car and it rolls down the hill.
Oh.
And it's the first time I've ever seen it, first time anyone that I've talked to has ever seen it. But that's a major safety issue, and I'm surprised Toyota has not addressed that. And if you scan the car with Toyota's diagnostic software with that relay faulty, it cannot detect it. It says everything's fine with the car. So that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
It's a good thing Boulder is so flat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's some mountains around.
Yeah.
A few.
Good thing there's no mountains in Colorado. Yeah. Not known for mountains. Well, and that's kind of what I wanted your perspective, because I'm not, on one hand, there's no need to. I don't panic every time Apple updates its software.
Right.
I don't go, oh my God, they built some piece of crap with bugs. And updating software is a good thing. Keeping it as bug-free as possible and improving it as often as possible, that's a good thing. So I don't want to, but the word recall, is it like a trigger word,
Mm-hmm.
It means...
Well, and also from a small volume car like the 500e, it's still, at the end of the day, a compliance car, and whether they've sold 3,800 or 500, they have not spent the gazillion man-hours of engineering and testing time that they would on a normal car, because they're not selling as many. So bugs are going to slip through the cracks, and they're going to find them and then have to deal with them.
Yeah,
Hopefully they can update them easily and without too much inconvenience. Tesla's got a great system because they they update their cars over the air without having to bring them to the dealer.
Right. And without troubling their owners. It just
There was a update. This was a couple years ago for the Fusion Hybrid, and I saw that there was a software update, and it's there. And so I went online, I looked it up, it stepped me through it. I plugged a thumb drive into my computer, downloaded and extracted to the thumb drive, plugged it into my car, and did my own software update.
Nice.
That's kind of cool.
It was pretty cool. And what they said...
I'd rather do that than go to the dealer.
I know. Well, and see, that's the thing. What it said was, if you're comfortable doing this, here are the steps.
Right.
But if you don't want to do this yourself, take it to the dealer and they'll do it for free.
Right.
Well, but at least it was an option, and I jumped on it.
See, here's another problem that I had with my local dealer.
You had a problem with your local dealer?
I was having a problem. I'm still having a problem with my infotainment system. Isn't really doing its little weird things that it's not doing, and they're kind of a pain in the ass about troubleshooting it because it's not something that's easily reproducible that they can find right away, and they don't want to mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So one of the things they actually told me is, well, there's a software update that came out about a year ago that we can apply to this and try it. And I said, I've been in here half a dozen times in the last year. Why didn't you update the software? And the service manager looked me in the eye and said, we don't do that unless there's a problem. Because updates themselves can cause problems, so we only update a customer's car with new software.
When the customer raises his voice and swears it.
To address a problem. And I'm thinking, the problem...
They should have said, I'm the problem.
You're the problem. You're the problem. I need to update you.
Okay, so I'm not insane, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I can see their point. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because sometimes you install the latest whatever on your computer, and then other weird stuff starts happening. So,
but sometimes, sometimes the updates are preventative.
Right.
I mean, sometimes the updates are there not because you've experienced the situation of the car shifting to neutral when you're on the interstate, but because it could happen. And the day after you're at the dealer and they don't do an update, that's when it happens, and that's when it's a problem.
So, I mean, so Paul, actually, and Tony too, but Paul, so with my MFD, or whatever we're calling the dash infotainment system these days, here are the symptoms. The nav system is supposed to have a sensor that automatically changes the display when it gets dark.
Mm-hmm.
From night to day. Doesn't work. Never worked. The radio volume changes erratically, and I don't think it's related to HD radio, which is a pain in the ass as far as I'm concerned. I think there's something else in there, but the volume will just like drop by 50%, and then drop by another 50% sometimes, and I haven't been able to get it to do it consistently.
I'm not familiar with that exact system. Does it have a volume knob or an up-down button for volume?
Knob.
Okay. Could just be as simple as the contacts on the knob inside the dash are messed up. Highlander hybrids. Well, all Highlanders have a temperature knob on their climate control system, and the contacts behind it get stupid, and it's a hot day and you put it on AC and it blows hot, even though the knob is set all the way to cold. And it's a well-known problem in the Highlander community. And of course, the dealer will fix it for $1,000, or you can take out the control panel and solder 3 little wires to fix the ones that broke from the factory, and then it works fine. So it could be something like that, but again,
could it be the knob holding onto the steering wheel?
Yes, it's the nut behind the steering wheel is causing the problem.
I don't know. I expect these things to work.
Yeah.
And I realize that these are trivial, like the day-night thing bugs the living hell out of me. Yeah. But it's very, very trivial. But you know what? Nobody's giving me a discount because it doesn't work.
Right.
Nobody said, "Oh, here's $50." Shut up.
Do you know why that's not happening?
No idea.
Because you're not screaming loud enough.
why they're
because
not fixing it?
the dealer is
'Cause-
not a Toyota employee.
Yeah.
If-
The service manager, there's a knob, to use a word we just got done using. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, because if the manufacturer actually sold directly to customers and the customer had an issue, the manufacturer could potentially fix it.
Well, you can also call Toyota Care or whatever customer service and open a case with them
Yeah.
and say,
Hmm.
why doesn't this work? Is it a known problem? Give me a new radio, give me a new dash, give me a new car, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Why did they refuse to fix it?
I might actually, when I'm in the proximity of another different Toyota dealer.
Yeah.
That's my plan. Because I think I'm done with this Toyota dealer.
Don't you have like what's it called, a restraining order? You can't go on their property or something?
No, I don't.
Oh my God.
Don't go there. In fact, I actually sort of made up with them.
Oh,
They had taken my phone number, actually all the phone numbers from this house, mine, my wife's, and my kids, and sent them in their system so that
straight to
automatically.
voicemail.
Yeah, it went straight to the general manager's voicemail.
Yeah.
So my kid called to make a service appointment for her Corolla that she bought there, and she couldn't get through the service department.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, the bastards did. So I called the general manager and, worked it out. But, I mean,
I've bailed on my dealership. The dealership I've had for 10 plus years.
Really?
Yeah. My car got dinged every time. There was always a new little bit of damage or something.
Right.
And then at the 100,000-mile tune-up, they knocked 10 mpg off my average.
Wow.
And you know how ridiculous I am about my tank average, and they said, so you're complaining because you're getting 60. Yes, I am, because when I brought it in, I was getting 70.
Wow.
And they were just like, get out.
Right.
And I said, okay. And I'm never going back.
Well, that's a nice way to end the show.
Yeah. Hey, look at that.
Dealing thing. That's why people like Paul.
Dealer customer experiences. Okay, that's a good show topipic.
Yeah.
There's
boy.
a reason. Well, I mean, there's a reason we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. There's a reason people are buying cars at Costco.
Yeah.
They can get them cheap. It's one price, and they don't have to deal with a dealership. But there we go. So,
Yep.
Let's do some shout-outs. Mr. Guzik, why don't you go first?
Shout out to myself, Boulder Hybrids, boulderhc.com. Anybody in Colorado or an adjoining state needs hybrid stuff, come see us. And also my friends down the way, Green Eyed Motors. They're, like I said, an EV hybrid used car dealer. Last week their showroom had about 10 cars in it. Not one of them had a gasoline engine in it. Very cool. Everything from a Tesla to a Fiat to a smart car to Leafs. Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as his title says, Paul is a car fix-it dude.
Yeah, I don't think people properly appreciate enough of Boulder Hybrids. I don't think they really understand the nuts and bolts and everything that you actually do. I mean, you had told me I'd met you and you explained all the work that you did, the service, the repairs. I was absolutely blown away the first time I walked into your garage. It's absolutely impressive. Yeah.
Well, we know all the tricks. Here's another story. Sorry to keep rambling, but last week a Gen 1 customer in Denver lost all their keys to their car. Gen 1 is really evil if you lose all your keys. They had the car towed to a Denver area dealer. $1,500 was the quote to make the car start. Older couple, not that internet savvy. Their kids said, there's got to be a cheaper way. They found me through Google. And long story short, for under $500, we were able to make their car drive. And even with a tow from Denver to Boulder, which is about 45 minutes, they saved $1,000. So it makes sense to shop around for your repair work.
Yeah.
And don't lose your keys if you have a Gen 1.
I think that should go for any car. Don't
Any
lose
modern car.
Yeah.
Don't lose those keys, please. That's very, very bad.
Mm.
Well, I guess I'll do the plugs for Danny, and then we'll get to you, Mr. Schaefer. Since Mr. Cooper is playing golf in Dubai this week, if you own a Prius and you need accessories, you don't want to go to a dealer. I mean, come on, we've been talking trash about dealers. That's the last place you want to go. You want to go to the Prius Chat shop. That's at priuschat.com/shop. They pre-test everything that they sell. Good prices, good delivery, and Danny packs every package by hand and with love.
That's nice.
I was expecting a sick noise from somebody.
I couldn't open my mouth because I was throwing up a little.
Good. And speaking of throwing up a little, Tony,
Nice. I want to give shout-outs to some individuals. Tom Stengel, of course, who have mentioned a couple of times. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Always glad to hear people listening live. And Tom happens to have me on Facebook, so he's been sending me messages. But also Lee Moon, who interacts with us frequently on Facebook, and Todd Brubaker and Randy Mays, of course, longtime friend, John Brayling, Montanus Dominus, and Bruce Johnson. Some recent likes to our Facebook page. Hope you're enjoying the show.
I'm sorry, is that a dinosaur? Montanus Dominus?
Yes, I think it just might be.
Or he was in the new Mad Max movie. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. And on a personal plug, I do want to mention again, if you use Flipboard, which I do, I have a magazine that I use to store any of the interesting alt car articles I stumble across. It's called Green Rides, and just if you start following that magazine, you'll see what I'm reading and what I find interesting. And one of the things I find interesting is, after lambasting me about being on Flipboard, I've started seeing some regular panelists and even co-hosts throwing things into Flipboard. Yes, you, Mr. Frost.
What are you throwing to Flipboard?
I see you on Flipboard. I've seen.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how you get there.
Oh. I think there are trolls at work here.
Or maybe somebody's flipping you into Flipboard.
Could be.
I'll send you a screenshot.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, actually, because I swear it's not me. Not that I don't like Flipboard. I mean, I don't use it anymore. I did when it first came out a little bit. But it's cool. It's a cool platform.
It really is one of the key points where I get most of my news.
Cool. Very cool.
Check it out.
So I want to thank Danny Cooper for my spiffy new beard. He didn't get it for me, but I am style inspired by Danny Cooper. When I told him this today, he immediately said, "I'm shaving my beard tomorrow." So yeah, there we go. I'm slightly hairier than I used to be, which is a frightening thought when you ponder it.
I got it. Speaking of Danny, I just got a text from Danny. He is missing the show. He's out buying up all the Confederate flags he can get his hands on while he still can.
You had to go there, didn't you? Yeah.
I had to. The show was almost over. I was losing time.
God, I've been trying to be so good this show. I've tried to be so good. Tried to be better. So let's see. We've got, as always, my thanks to Michael Mannering. Our thanks to Michael Mannering for our amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. If you have a call, if you have a telephone and you'd like to call us and leave us a voicemail, you can do that at 575-51-DRIVE. That's 575-51-DRIVE. Call, leave us a voicemail. If you do that, number one, we'll probably crap ourselves because it almost never happens. And number two,
I want to see Russell crap himself.
No, you don't. Really, no one does. But lots of people like to make it happen. They just don't want to watch. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. So leave us a voicemail. If it's entertaining, we will definitely play it on the air. And even if there's just a good question, we might try and answer it. My thanks to Paul Guzik. I'm so turned around here. To Paul and Tony this week for coming on the show with me. Thank you for not making this a solo show. That would have not been pretty.
I did it for everyone.
Thank
everyone
you.
else.
I appreciate you taking into the team, Tony.
Yeah.
Paul, same for you. But you guys both had beer.
All right.
You hung out for an hour. You know, it wasn't that bad, I hope.
Always a pleasure.
So obviously you can download or stream the show at whatdrives.us. Please, if you subscribe on iTunes, give us a review. We're available also through, I always get it wrong. Is it Stitcher? And several other pod-catching apps. So do that. If you do download the show automatically, whoever you do that through, drop us a review. Drop us a couple of stars. We definitely appreciate that. Otherwise, thanks to all of you, our watchers, our viewers and listeners. Download us next week and find out what drives us.